Hello, welcome to Astro Breeze weekly transits. And today I'm going to start back a few days just to catch us up with the intensity of things that are going on, the depth of things that are going on. So we had this Sagittarius full moon, and you can see here the sun is opposite the moon. And let me go right to the actual, give it, so you can see it was at 13 degrees. Yep, I think, come on. Later in the day. It was late. There it is. Okay. Pretty close. 13. No, go back. Two swatches. There we go. Okay. So this is the full moon chart. And you can see there's the sun and moon opposition. And what was interesting about this, there's something else that actually I found from Rick Levine. He talks about all these crazy different aspects, but there's another kind of cool pattern here that I got to point out because it kind of setting the tone for the week. So we're coming off of this full moon, this Sagittarian, energetic, honest, blunt. Let's look at stuff. Let's investigate. So we got this optimism coming into this intense stuff going on, which I think is a good thing. All right, so interesting thing here we have going on. So you can see in this program, I can't draw it on here or show you, but because it's animated. But anyway, you can imagine this. So we got the moon. You could see it opposing the sun, right? So imagine there's a line here. And then we also have Venus about to oppose. Look at that. Coming into orb with Pluto, but it's technically there. So what's interesting here, we got this and this. So imagine there's an X here, X right there. There it is. Now, what's interesting is there's an angle between the moon and Pluto that's a half a square. It's 45 degrees. So you can see that it's like 0 to 13, right? So this would be 43. But and then there's another half a square from the moon, I'm sorry, from the sun to Venus. And this is more exact at that half a square, 45 degrees. Okay, now there is also a square and a half from the sun over to the moon. Sun to moon. You'll see the square and a half, I'm sorry, square over from the sun. There we go. I'm showing you here the sun to the moon. And then we had Venus to Pluto. Those are oppositions there, oppositions. And then we have a half square, and then we've got from Pluto to the moon, and then a half square from the sun to Venus. See if I said that right. And then that makes a square and a half from Venus to the moon and a square and a half from Pluto to the sun. Okay, so we've got two crossing or opposing, two oppositions here, making an X. Okay, imagine that. I wish I could draw it for you, but you'll get it. And then between the short ends, that's a half a square, and between the outside ones is a square and a half. Okay, so you have square and a half square, square and a half square, opposition, opposition. That is called a point of Thor, and that's intense. You've got agitation. You've got, it's a half squares and squares and a half. So you've got the 45s and the 135s, kind of tense, and we've got the sun and the moon, Pluto and Venus all involved. And then we're going to continue to find aspects with some of those players there. So we're setting, this was the full moon. I just wanted to set the theme for the week. That's what happened. And then a couple days later, Monday, we have this, there we go. There it is. Sunday late. We had that Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus. Okay, so now we've got, think about that. I'm going to try to put it in context here for you. and this is all coming into today. So I just wanted to back you up and see kind of where we're at. So we had that weird, we had the full moon, but we had that point of Thor, with the two oppositions and the half squares and the squares and a half. So making a square, I mean a rectangle, and with the squares and with a cross in the middle. It's one of those neat astrological configurations. Whoever is born at that time, whoa, powerful, maybe good, maybe bad. But nonetheless, that was a PowerPoint coming off. And then now we get that Uranian, that investigative two electric kind of energies that wired, that nervous energy, that conjunction there with Uranus and Mercury. And remember, it didn't quite, it was catching up. Mercury was just catching up to it months ago, and it didn't do it. It went, retrograde, and then now it's gaining speed, and then it's finally making that conjunction. So we have some mental fulfillment. So we have some mental clarity, some unusual things, and this is going to play out, I think, for a while. It didn't just like come and go. This is setting the stage for some intense things. All right, so as we go into yesterday, um, we had that exact alignment with Venus and Pluto. A few days before it was close, when it was in that point of Thor, but here it is, as Venus, went into Leo and opposing this Pluto as it's in the very last little stages of being in Aquarius. You see that 0-0 opposition there. All right, so what does that mean? That's not like coming into the week now. So we've got uncomfortable truths being revealed, discomfort, going into uncomfortable places. So what I noticed was there was another movie documentary coming out by Mickey Willis called The Great Awakening, and I saw it this weekend, and it was phenomenal. His movies are great. Mickey Willis, The Great Awakening. I'd highly advise you to check it out. It was very well done, very in depth, easy to watch and listen to. But the information there that he shared is just another pound to that deep state, to the global powers that are falling down, to this plutocracy that's coming unglued. But nonetheless, we have, right at here that Pluto is at the 0 degree of Aquarius, about ready to back into Capricorn. So this is very interesting. And I think the ripples of this are just starting. When we just drop the boulder into the pond, and the waves and the ripples haven't really started yet. Okay, that's my take, but there's a lot more other things, but it's just the timing of that type of information coming out. And that it's just things like that just go bonkers back and forth in social media. It just goes onto all the social sites, and people share clips, and it just moves around. So this is pretty an intense week without being intense, kind of. I don't know if I said that right. So we come into today, and we're going to see a lot this week, is a lot of moon aspects, but there are a few important things and a few important aspects that are going on. And one thing is, interesting with the Venus and Leo, because she's, she's squared up with Pluto, and then, she's going to oppose Pluto, and then she's going to square this week, or Saturday, we'll talk about Saturday in a minute. Then she's going to come up and square Jupiter. So there's some kind of intense things that are, that our values, what we value, have to face. I say she like it doesn't pertain to any of us, right? But anyway, okay, so we're coming into today, and interesting. We've got a lot of things starting to heat up. Now we got Mercury just passed the Uranus conjunction, but we still are electrified with that, and they're both electric, and they're kind of like arcing out, zzz, 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 coming up. A couple of other things we see here: Neptune and Pluto. Neptune and the Moon. I just put it. This was happened to be just at this time, but we have a lot of moon aspects. But there's an interesting sextile today. The moon moved that, and then the moon is going to move into Aquarius the next couple days before she sweeps into Pisces, making contact with Saturn and Neptune this week. So Moon is going to go over Saturn in a day or so. In the next 2.5 days, it takes 2.5 days to go through a sign. So today's Tuesday late. So the rest of the today, and then all day Wednesday, all day Thursday. So it's going to go to Saturn early and then Neptune late. So Moon Saturn. There could be some sadness, some emotional maturity, some emotional stability with that. And then when Moon goes over Neptune, then we could get into the dreams, to the intuition, to that other side, because we have that um, kind of esoteric vibe being um, stimulated by the Moon. All right, so we got a kind of like the stuff sort of creeping in, and then all of a sudden, blah, boo, kind of coming in. And look at this over here. We've got Venus. It seems like it's going to be chasing and catch up and pass Mars, but Venus will go retrograde this month, and it stays retrograde for 40 days. So she goes a lot into Leo, but then turns retrograde before she catches up with Mars. So Mars is frustrated. Arr! I thought my girl was coming to me. Oh no, she's going away now. So it's going to go away, and then it'll be a different phase, a different month when the two lovers catch up. But anyway, there's going to be a lot of interesting things before that. But I just wanted to show you that, because you look at that and you go, oh, we're going to have a conjunction. Not so fast. I think she starts slowing down. Okay, the rest of this month also, we have some, interesting things. We have Pluto is, it's retrograde. We know it's retrograde there, but it's almost to the end of Aquarius, and it's going to go back into Capricorn. And then we also have Saturn slowing down. It's at 7 degrees. It's going to stay at 7 degrees pretty much all month. And then we have Neptune slowing down, and it's going to pretty much stay at 27 degrees. So one at 7, one at 27. All right. So just that's, those outer planets slowing down and being very strong. When they slow down to do in retrograde and then start, do their thing, they're slowing down, from our perspective, and it's more powerful. So we have that Pluto, the Saturn, and the Neptune all kind of burning in. So plutonic things, the stuff's going to come up from the depths, and things are going to hit Pluto a few times, a few ways. Pluto's going to get dinged and dinged and dinged. And then Saturn, slowing down as well. And Saturn being the ruler of the sign that Pluto's going to move into, is going to take an interest there. And then Neptune, it just adds, it's going to just confuse and muck up things like it always does. Okay. All right. So that's today. Those kind of stay in effect. We will also have Pluto, we're going to have Venus over here. Where is it? Yeah. Venus and Pluto, will be dancing around the nodes as well, squaring the nodes. Venus here, well, the day before, we had Venus squaring the nodes. There it is. And then Pluto there as well. So node, south node in Scorpio, and north node in Taurus. You see them there. And then you see, the Pluto Venus opposition. So we have a grand square here. Do. So what is that? Well, things coming up from the depth. People that are, either Venus is either love or money. So are you paying attention to love life, your romance, things coming up from the depths? Are you throwing daggers and throwing stuff out and getting rid of things and challenging relationships? It could be good or bad, depending on what you're bringing up from the depth. If you're throwing away old stuff that doesn't need to be, fine. But if you're using it as a weapon, not so good. If it's for your money and finances, we could be, we've got a struggle with things because it's all fixed. So that kind of sucks. But you have to get strategic, and things though could hold value, because we still have stuff, at that nth degree, the first degree of Taurus down there, the north node. So things could still be holding value and making making it out that the angst for, hey, you better get it while it's hot, you better get it while you can, kind of, and it's making that pull toward, that want. Okay, so that's one thing going on. So that stuff's going to be kind of toying, and then Pluto is going to be playing with that for a while, because those nodes are going to be going, into Aries, and that Pluto is going to retrograde back to 27. Now Pluto, where's my note? It retrogrades back, um, and it turns direct in October 11th, but then it doesn't move back into Aquarius until like 2/3 of the way through January. So, we still got that instableness there. And the last time that was going on, when it went the other way, we had some bank instability. Expect that again. So that it could also, when it does this, it could also give us some clues or foreshadows of what the rest of the year is going to be like, as soon as this moves back into Capricorn on Saturday. All right. Friday, you can see it's getting ever closer. Look at 0 degrees. Look at Pluto. 0 degrees, 1 minute retrograde. So the next day it will go back. All right. And that's the day that we're going to we're going to warm up to it, but then we're going to rock and roll on that day. Let's see. What else do we have on? Let's go back. Friday, there was another, I know what I wanted to show you. Friday, we have the Neptune and Mercury sextile, and they've been lining up. You saw that. Where is it? Down there? 27 Mercury and 27 Neptune. And let's see, I wanted to read you something from Robert Hand. I like his book, The Planets in Transit. That book was just good. I didn't like the his aspect book. It was, but this one was just like divine. All right, Mercury sextile Neptune. This transit stimulates the imagination in a very positive way. Your sensitivity to and awareness of subtler aspects of the world around you is greatly increased, and your intuition is much stronger than usual. Sometimes this transit accompanies a period of dreaminess in which you spend much time fantasizing. Because you would like the world to be a more beautiful place than it is, you will probably be attracted to, it could be fantasy things, escaping from your daily concerns. But this withdrawal from reality is not all that bad, for we each have a world within us that provides the inspiration that makes life worth living. And we can get to that world only at times like this. That's what I wanted to point out. I thought that was really important. So I think this is giving us the chance to dive in and process this depth that's starting to open up. All right. This intangible reality is as important as the solid material reality of our daily world. In your contacts with people, you have much clearer sense of what is going on in others' minds. If you can keep your perceptions straight in your head, you will be astonished by the insights about people this transit can bring. However, even with relatively mild Mercury-Neptune transits, it's often difficult to keep your intuition sorted out. Clear thinking is not one of the strongest points with this aspect, and you should try not to use your rational mind very much. Rely more on your inner senses and feelings. So it's not a very good day for performing any task that requires great clarity and attention to and precision to detail. Not a good day for elective surgeries either. Not a good day for brain surgery. Okay. At a higher level, this transit can signify turning your attention to spiritual or religious matters. It's a very suitable time to get into the esoteric. Okay, that I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was a good one. It's a short aspect, but I think it's important because of how we are coming into this. Coming out of that point of Thor, which we talked about with the last week's full moon. So we're poised and ready to look at the depth of things and just clear out those drawers, clear out those old cobwebs, what's not working, and then add new structure in. So this is a very, very powerful day because not only do we have coming into the next day, there we go. Not only do we have Pluto backing up into Capricorn again, we have Mercury moving right into its own sign of Gemini. I did a little earlier that day, but it's starting to fly. So it's there at the exact same day. Okay. And then we also have the moon had moved into Aries, very intense energies, right? um, so what else was I going to say? Where's Venus? Venus over here squaring Jupiter. It was just the day before. That's it. There you go. So you can see it. It did it on, late Saturday. It was like almost midnight. So I'm just going to go the next day. So you hear Venus squaring Jupiter. So another intense thing. So where did I have that for you? I wanted to read a little bit about Robert Hand on that one too. Think. Did I get that one for you? And no, I didn't grab that one. Sorry. But anyway, the Venus squaring Jupiter, you might have to watch your spending. It could, you could have a tendency toward a little bit of, um, what would you call, spendthrift, or feel like, there's a bigger, better scenario to spend money on. You might have a tendency to do that, or you could have money kind of, you could be like real tight-fisted as well. He's like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. I kind of get like that stubborn or that block with that going on. What else do I want to say? We also had just a few days before, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I wanted to bring it up a little bit more. Venus squaring the nodes. And that's kind of also what I was saying, like getting rid of old stuff, or things coming up, with your love or your money. It's like resettling an old score. Pay attention to Venus, uh, like we didn't see her before. It's kind of like not just the nicest part of that. It's like a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more poignant. There we go. So, it's like, hey, I want what's due. I'm tired of dealing with this. I'm tired of walking on eggs. I'm tired of settling, I got to settle this score. It's just not right. We got to get it done. Things could be coming past that. So that was one part of that. And what else that day? Let's see. I think I got them all there for you. Extravagance, taking risks for money. That's what the other note I had there, Venus square Jupiter. Extravagances, taking risks for money. That's where like the value of something could be like, okay, it's going quick. You better get it, kind of an energy. So then we come into Monday, and it settles down a little bit. What else did I want to share with you on that? There's some other little things, like you can see Venus here creeping ever closer, but again, it's going to start slowing down. Mars is like, oh yeah, yeah, baby. Oh, it's slowing down. But that was an intense day. We kind of have, that intense day, and then as you see, the moon is still in Aries, and then as we start into the beginning of next week, the moon will then go into Taurus, and it will go over the North Node and Jupiter and Uranus, and then it'll catch up, past Mercury. So the moon is going to be making some interesting connections here, some earthy groundedness. And it's also going to be stimulating, those points. It's also going to be making a square over to Venus and to Mars. The moon will be making a square over that. So that can also be like putting a little salt on that wound. It's like, okay, just making sure you don't mess with me again. Just making sure this is all done. Sign on the line. And it's like finality. I think that's there's like going to be kind of a sense of finality, settling these old scores, moving on, getting rid of it, doing your shadow work, getting rid of that stuff that's either in you, or you're associated with somebody else that's toxic to you, or you being toxic about somebody or something else. And that's all I think going to be coming out. So the Great Awakening, Mickey Willis, check that out. It's very, very good, very well done. And I think that's, sometimes there's these little ripples that are kind of like the shot heard around the world. It's like, whoosh, it just moves around. with that energy. And this is a good one. Very well done. So we've got a kind of another intense week coming into, the 11th when Pluto moves, back into that solid Earth, and then when we get that, we've got some, more of that Earth. We have a lot of that Earth energy, so it'll kind of trine all of that Taurus stuff in one way, by element. So take advantage of it, that little grounding, that earthiness while we can, and some of these, changes. Mercury moving into its own home at last, moving into Gemini, home at last, new territory, and it's going to feel good. And then when the moon is in Aries, when we get that, and it's, making a trine, a sextile over, over to the sun and then over to Mercury. So that's going to feel good as well. So use this energy while we can. All right. Thanks for listening, and more to follow. We'll talk next week. Bye for now.